What if I told you that you could launch a business, one with legit seven-figure potential, not in 7 years, but in a single weekend? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, but that is the radical promise of Noah Kagan's book, $1 Million Weekend. So let's dive into this framework that pretty much flips everything we think we know about business on its head.
But first, let's just get real for a second. If you've ever had that dream of starting something of your own, what's stopping you? I mean, really, why haven't you started yet? For most of us, the reasons feel, well, they feel huge, don't they? And totally valid.
You know the drill. We're told you need this perfect 50-page business plan, that you gotta have a huge chunk of cash from investors, that you have to be willing to risk your entire life savings and just grind for years before you even see a single dollar. Honestly, this old way of thinking, it's basically a recipe for never, ever starting.
But Kagan's framework is a direct answer to all of that. It's a 48-hour solution, and it argues that speed isn't just some nice to have. It's your single greatest weapon against all that fear and all that inaction.
And so who is this guy telling you to just toss out the old rule book? Well, this is Noah Kagan. You might not know the name, but you know his work. He was employee number 30 back at Facebook. He's the founder of the massive company AppSumo. And get this, he has personally built 8 separate million-dollar businesses. And a lot of them were built using the exact ideas we're talking about right now.
At the very heart of his book is this big, bold claim that anyone, not just some genius in Silicon Valley, but anyone can get a real, high-potential business off the ground in one weekend. I know, it sounds nuts, but the logic behind it is actually surprisingly solid.
This swimming pool analogy from the book just illustrates it perfectly. See, traditional advice is like spending years reading manuals on how to swim. That's your business plan. You're studying the theory of hydrodynamics, and you risk metaphorically drowning in debt before you even dip a toe in the water. Kagan's method? It just tells you to jump in the shallow end, now. The 48-hour rule forces you into the water. You figure out what actually floats by getting real cash, and you never risk drowning because you've got a financial safety net.
And Kagan argues that the first and most important battle you have to win, it's not for ideas or for money. Nope. The real fight is against the roadblocks that are right inside your own head.
He really boils it down to these 2 core fears. First up, you've got the fear of starting, which, let's be honest, is just a fancy name for overthinking yourself into a corner until you're totally paralyzed. And second, and this one is huge for so many of us, the fear of asking. That cringy, deep-seated discomfort we all feel when we have to actually pay us for something.
So to fight that fear of starting, the book gives you this simple new mantra: now, not how. This is such a powerful little psychological trick. By focusing only on the immediate next step, you totally bypass that part of your brain that gets overwhelmed by all the complex long-term hows. It forces you out of your own head and into the real world, where things actually happen.
And to make now feel a lot less scary, you calculate what he calls your freedom number. Now, this isn't some giant, intimidating revenue goal. It's the exact amount of money you need, down to the dollar, to cover your basic monthly bills. The whole idea is to build your business on the side just until it hits this number. It turns a reckless leap of faith into a calculated, smart decision, making the whole process pretty much risk-free. Okay, and to fight that second fear, the fear of asking, the book gives you a complete reframe, a new way to think about it. If you truly believe your product or your service can solve a real problem for someone, then selling isn't selfish, it's actually your duty. You're not taking, you're giving. Selling is helping.
But what about rejection, right? What happens when someone says no? Well, it's not failure, it's just data. Every single no is just valuable information that tells you what the market doesn't want, which gets you that much closer to what it does want. To build up this resilience, Kagan suggests you start small. Like, next time you get a coffee, just ask for 10% off. The worst they can say is no. It's a super low-stakes way to build that psychological muscle you're going to need for the bigger asks later on.
All right, so once you've gotten your mindset right, you step into the ring. You enter the 48-hour money challenge. This is where all the theory stops and reality kicks in hard. And your weapon for this challenge is something called the minimum viable offer, or MVO. And I want to be clear, this is not a polished, finished, automated product. It is the absolute simplest, fastest, most stripped-down version of your solution. A lot of the time, it's just a service you deliver by hand. And here's the key. You're going to pre-sell this before you've even fully built it.
Now, this whole challenge is governed by one non-negotiable, unbreakable rule, the zero-spend mandate. It means you are not allowed to spend a single penny on your business before you have made your first dollar.
This forces you to prove your idea is good using the only money that really matters, your customer's money.
So here it is. Here's the game plan for your weekend. It's 4 steps. Step 1, define that super simple MVO. Step 2, go find people who you think actually have the problem you're trying to solve. Step 3, make the ask. You pre-sell your offer. And finally, the most important step of all, secure a payment from 3 separate customers.
And just to be crystal clear about this, forget surveys, forget focus groups, forget your friends telling you it's a great idea. The only metric, the only proof, the only validation that matters in this entire process is getting 3 real paying customers.
Because cash is the ultimate proof. It doesn't lie. Everything else, all the compliments and promises, it's just what Kagan calls polite rejection. When somebody is actually willing to pull out their wallet and give you their hard-earned money for your solution, that is when you have undeniable proof that you have found a real problem worth solving.
Now let's say you do it. A successful weekend doesn't mean you're a millionaire by Monday morning. The goal here isn't the initial cash you bring in. It's something way, way more valuable.
It's what the book calls million-dollar momentum. You've earned the validation that your idea is actually viable. You've got the first bit of cash to fuel the next step. And maybe most importantly, you've gained the confidence that you can actually do this.
And from that point, the path to 7 figures starts to get a whole lot clearer. You double down on what's working, and you kill what isn't. You go talk to those first 3 customers, and you refine your offer based on what they tell you. You start building an audience that you actually own, like an email list, not just a bunch of social media followers. And then, eventually, you automate, you scale, and you build a business that works for you.
Look, this entire framework is really designed to just shatter the myth that starting a business is this massive, impossible thing. It proves that the biggest barriers are the ones in our own minds, and that action, speed, and a simple ask are really all you need to get going. So, the only question left is, your 48 hours start now. What will you build?